I want to announce Vetted's brand new merch line. Our Believe hat that you can see right here. Looking good. Our Believe t-shirt. This thing is awesome, I promise you. Go to vettedmerch.store. Check it out. Let me know what you think. What's up, Vetters? Patrick here with Vetted. Today we're talking about this.
Did you lead the investigation into UAPs?
I did. Unless someone shows you firsthand evidence of an alien, unless someone shows you firsthand evidence of an item that is being, whatever it is, reverse engineered, or unless people come forward and say, here's the evidence that this is the crash retrieval program, you should maintain a healthy degree of skepticism. Be very cautious about what is being released publicly about UFOs.
Why cautious?
Because there's a whole crap ton of disinformation out there and lies, and there's grift. We have to be very, very careful.
Did you come away from the UAP investigation believing that there are communities, civilizations, life forms outside the Earth?
No, not from the investigation. Personally, I want to believe that. I would like to believe that, but no, from the investigation, I did not come away believing that there are UFOs.
The first question I have for you is more personal. What's it like to hold information that you want to get out to the public that you can't? Because I know you've spoken a lot and you say what you can say, but there's a lot I imagine you want to say. What's it like personally to hold information you know that could change the world forever?
It's difficult. I just compartmentalize it so it doesn't overwhelm me.
When you're in a secure compartmented information facility, you're not hearing rumors when you're in a skiff and you're being
Oh God, no!
briefed.
This is
Right,
Hey,
but you need to explain that because people don't get this. They think you guys go in there and you're kind of talking casually and random things get said and then you walk out confused.
you're putting personnel through the paces, and you don't do that just for rumors. And the grays are like the little ones you saw near the end of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The little diminutive bodies and really large heads.
Is that the one you saw in the photos? The grays?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fascinating. Okay. And I don't know how much information you can give about these photos. Was it some of the famous crash sites that we've heard about over the years? Is it
No,
Roswell?
this
Is it
is
Gettysburg?
this was foreign intelligence collected. So this is a foreign crash, and that's classified. So I can't get into that. But it is the photos I saw came from the site of a foreign crash retrieval during the Cold War.
I didn't change how much I'm on my phone. I just changed what I do with it. This is free cash. You play mobile games, complete offers, or do quick surveys and earn coins you can cash out for real money. Sign up is free with no hidden fees. On my first day, I made about $5 to $10. Most people who use it make consistently $30 to $100 a month. It's not a job replacement, it's just a smart side hustle. Free Cash has over 260,000 reviews on Trustpilot with a 4.8 star rating. It's currently ranked number 1 in the UK App Store and number 2 in both US and Germany. They've already paid out over $250 million to users. Cash outs are simple. $25 minimum on your first withdrawal and then no minimum after that. You can get paid through PayPal, crypto, or gift cards. If you want to try it, use the QR code or the link in my description. New users get a $10 bonus after completing their first offer. Just make sure to enable app tracking. So what are you waiting for? Go check out Free Cash. All right, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. So today's video is about Dr. Eric Davis, who you are probably familiar with. Recently did an interview and talked about some things that I want to get into. Specifically, some photos he's seen of UFO crash retrievals and some bodies, right? We're going to get into that. And we're going to talk about skiffs. And a skiff is a sensitive, compartmented information facility. Something that is often brought up in this community. And it's basically where people go to talk about secret things, right? But maybe not so much, because I did a lot of research on what a skiff is and what can be talked about in it, and we'll get to that later in the video. But first, let's start with Dr. Eric Davis in a recent interview he did on Gaia. Yep, Gaia.
Okay, Dr. Davis, welcome to Disclosure Drop. I'm so excited to talk to you. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
All right, so for 30 years, you've basically been the physicist they call when something doesn't obey physics. You worked on every UAP acronym, OSAP, ATIP, the UAP task force. The first question I have for you is more personal. What's it like to hold information that you want to get out to the public that you can't? Because I know you've spoken a lot and you say what you can say, but there's a lot I imagine you want to say. What's it like personally to hold information you know that could change the world forever?
It's difficult. I just compartmentalize it so it doesn't overwhelm me. But I worked 6 years at the National Institute for Discovery Science, which was Bob Bigelow's UFO organization. And I saw and experienced a lot of things on that job that are very difficult for a hardcore STEM scientists, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. A guy like me could comprehend, given that this is not a natural phenomenon. It is an intelligent phenomenon under some sort of intelligent control.
Wow, what a first question, right? What's it like to keep a secret that could change the world forever, right? And that's part of the interesting part in this community. Again, something I've brought up many times, right? This is sold as something that could change the world forever, right? They just said it. He just asked it, and Eric Davis didn't push back on that at all. He answered the question, meaning he accepted the premise, in my opinion. Tell me if you think otherwise in the comments. But Eric Davis is accepting that premise, which is why people should be allowed to ask questions and push back, right, about this, because you're talking about something that could change the world forever. And we're not supposed to be skeptical a little bit or push back or have some questions. Hello, if there's anything you would be skeptical about or push back on or have questions, it would be the thing that you claim could change the world forever. Is it so wrong that we demand proof and evidence of these claims, these big claims? Again, I don't know how many times I got to beat this point in. I've been getting attacked a lot recently since my video came out a couple videos ago about UAP Gerb, Ross Coulthart, sources, all of that. People making up absolute lies about me because of those questions, attacking me personally, digging into my personal life, my family life. It's disgusting, right? Because all we're doing is pushing back and asking questions about something that could change the world forever, right? See, they like that premise because it sounds enticing and sensational. But then when it comes time for people like, oh shit, it's going to change the world. Well, damn, I got some questions. No. Don't ask any questions. Just accept what I said because I'm XYZ person and I'm this person, right? Sorry, it doesn't work like that when it's something you claim that could change the world forever. Let's continue.
You said something extraordinary that I think you saw in a skiff. In the movie Moment of Contact, directed by James Fox, New Revelations of Alien Encounters, you made an incredible statement. You swore on your own life and your kids' life that you saw photos and reports of crash retrievals and non-human intelligent bodies. That's an incredible statement that you saw in a skiff. Then a year earlier, you in 2025 at the UAP Disclosure Fund Briefing to Congress mentioned 4 types of ET races. You said that, they are Nordics, Greys, Insectoids, and Reptilians. And you mentioned that, the public has low credibility evidence on that. And then the classified programs is high credible evidence actually of this. My question for you is, and I'm not trying to push you to break your NDAs here, but I know you can't say much, but in those photos and reports, were those species involved in those photos and reports that you saw?
Just one of them. And there's a minimum of 4, and that was my slip up for not clarifying that. There's a minimum of 4. The best example of the number of, I don't know if you would say species versus morphology. You have to look at Bob Emenegger's book, his companion book to his 1974 television documentary, UFOs, Past, Present, and Future.
Yeah.
And he's got a section in the middle of the book showing graphics of the taxonomy of different UAP craft that have been observed and investigated by Project Blue Book. And then there's one with the taxonomy of NHIs or aliens, and that's that section on the taxonomy of the different NHIs / aliens, or UFO as Jacques Vallée calls them, is an excellent example of the variety of different type of UAP beings or crew members that have been reported and investigated and encountered. So there's a minimum of 4. The insect, and as I qualified as at the May 1st, 2025 House Oversight Committee, I clarified that the reptilians and insectoids are not a species well, they are. It's just that they morphologically resemble what they're familiar with on Earth. So, for example, the insectoid is going to represent a type of NHI species that resembles or looks like, it's got the facial and body morphology of an insect or a praying mantis, yeah. But that's not what they are. They're not a praying mantis by any means. They're not an insect by any means. It's just that that's how they appear.
Right. They're not an evolution of a praying mantis, actually.
Yeah, and so the same with the reptilian. It doesn't mean that they're reptiles. It just means that they resemble an Earth-type reptile. Remember, these things, we don't know that they even come from Earth. So, but that doesn't mean that's exactly what they are. We don't have, I'm not aware that we've got any deceased ones. I'm aware that we've recovered deceased grays. And the grays are like the little ones you saw near the end of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The little guy, diminutive bodies and really large heads.
Is that the one you saw in the photos, the grays?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fascinating. Okay. And I don't know how much information you can give about these photos. Was it some of the famous crash sites that we've heard about over the years? Is it
no, this is this was foreign intelligence collected. So this is a foreign crash, and that's classified. So I can't get into that, but it is the photos I saw came from the site of a foreign crash retrieval during the Cold War.
Now, this is where it gets interesting because, you see, I don't believe Dr. Eric Davis is lying, but that doesn't necessarily mean that what he's saying is true. Let me explain. Here's a clip of Dr. Eric Davis talking about being in a SCIF, right? That thing we talked about at the beginning, the sensitive compartmented information facility, and what kind of information can be spoken about in that SCIF. Because that's important to remember, and I'll explain in a second.
When you're in a secure compartmented information facility, you're not hearing rumors when you're in a SCIF and you're being
no,
briefed.
This is
right. But you need to explain that because people don't get this. They think you guys go in there and you're kind of talking casually and random things get said and then you walk out confused.
No, you get an official briefing. You can have a casual conversation, which is going to contain classified information, and you could get a formal briefing, which would be a PowerPoint slide presentation. You could be shown something in the way of a file containing documents, photographs. You might even get to see a classified video shown from a projector in the room. And so, no, you're talking facts. You don't go into a SCIF to exercise the field security officer and the SCIF security officer into going through the process and the motion of transmitting your clearances from your field security officer at Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies to the facility security officer at Lockheed Martin, and then he's got to get the SCIF officer, SCIF security officer, get you signed in or signed up, scheduled for the SCIF meeting. The SCIF's got to be scheduled for use. Otherwise, somebody else will schedule it and use it ahead of you or at the time you desire. So you're putting personnel through the paces, and you don't do that just for rumors.
Now, what Dr. Eric Davis just said there is not entirely true, at least based on the research I did. Let me show you. First, let's establish again what a SCIF is: a sensitive compartmented information facility. A SCIF is a secure area credited for the storage, processing, use, and discussion of sensitive compartmented information and other classified material. Its primary purpose is to protect against unauthorized access, electronic surveillance, and eavesdropping. And here's some pictures to give you a better idea of what they look like, what they could be. Because a SCIF can take on many forms. It can be mobile. It can be something that is, always there. It can be just one room. It can be a whole office building. It can be a lot of things. So let's discuss some of the details that I found about what exactly can be discussed in a SCIF, which is where Dr. Eric Davis saw these photos of the crash retrievals, as he put it, in the bodies, right? And so when he says he can swear that he saw those things in the SCIF, he's not lying. So I asked a couple of AIs for some information on SCIFs and what can be discussed in them. And it gave me sources and everything. So you can do this experiment yourself. All right. This is what I asked the first AI. I asked, can rumors be discussed in a SCIF? And this is what the first AI told me. Yes, rumors can be discussed inside a SCIF, sensitive compartmented information facility, provided that all participants possess the proper security clearance and a verified need to know for the underlying subject matter. A SCIF is built to prevent electronic and acoustic spying, making it safe to talk about sensitive or unverified information without risking an outside leak. Intelligence analysts and officials often use secure rooms to evaluate raw, unconfirmed reporting, track down leads, or discuss what a particular piece of gossip or unverified intel might mean. So this was using the Google AI, right? If you go to Google and use the search and you get an AI answer, this is where this comes from. So again, you can do this yourself, and it does provide all the sources, so you can go verify this information. Now, what's interesting about what I just said, rumors can be discussed, and SCIFs are often used to discuss unverified pieces of information, gossip, discuss leads, right? Discuss potential things. Doesn't necessarily mean everything discussed in a SCIF is true. And just to further prove the point, I asked another AI, and this is what Grok had to say. Yes, rumors can be discussed in a SCIF. There is no specific prohibition in intelligence community directives, such as the ICD 705 and related technical specifications, DoD rules, or common security guidance against discussing rumors, gossip, unclassified topics, office chatter, or water cooler talk inside a SCIF. SCIFs often function as normal workplaces. People hold meetings, work at desks, eat, and have ordinary conversations there, as long as electronic devices are left outside and classified material is properly protected. All activity and conversation inside a SCIF is generally presumed restricted from public disclosure, but that does not ban non-classified discussion. Do you see? So there's really no rule against discussing any of those things. So you can. Right? You can discuss rumors. You can discuss gossip, unverified information. Again, entire offices can be a SCIF. Take a look at this image here, right? As you can see, you just got to leave the electronic devices outside. And then once you step in, it's a SCIF technically, right? Again, there's all kinds of different SCIFs. So when someone used the word, I heard it in a SCIF, I saw pictures in a SCIF, you got to ask more details. Under what circumstances in the SCIF did you see it? Was it just casual conversation around a desk, water cooler talk, where you're eating lunch and talking with buddies and they showed you some stuff on the internet, right? Or whatever the case may be. I think that's very important. And I think it's very misleading the way Eric Davis paints SCIFs and what's talked about in SCIFs.
And if you're in a SCIF, then receiving a briefing from a senior vice president of Lockheed Martin about any classified subject, you both know as professionals, you know as a professional that he's telling you the truth. He's not feeding you disinformation.
He has to. Yeah, that's right. This can't be rumor mongering because this is an aerospace company. They're not in the counterintelligence business. They're not there to fool us.
And I think it's misleading when people say they saw things inside of skiffs without giving all the details around it, right? So it could be very well true. And I believe it is true that Eric Davis saw pictures of crash retrieval bodies and craft and whatever. I don't think he's lying about that. So when he says he swears on his wife and children and all of that, I don't think he's lying. I just think the provenance of what he saw, that's what he doesn't talk about. And that's what can't be proven.
Got it. And like, how does that work exactly, Dr. Davis? Because you're such a highly credible person. For you to say, I saw photos of crash retrievals and ET bodies is disclosure on some level to me and to some people, but you can't cross the line to saying more. Like, how does that work from a national security situation? Like, why is that line, who draws that line, you know?
Yeah, well, this isn't a disclosure of an American information. It's involving intelligence collection on a foreign adversary.
Okay, fair.
So you have to kind of walk a fine line here. That's all you can do. Now, whether the government agency that owns that intelligence is willing to disclose it, it's hard to say because there's a lot of sources and methods that are buried inside that intelligence, and that makes it very hard for them to want to reveal it because the sources and methods are still being used today.
It could have been rumor, unverified information. It's foreign intelligence, right? And that's the problem. Key details that are left out to leave it ambiguous, to make you think otherwise. So I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying it'd be nice to know all the details first before we determine it. Because, as Eric Davis and the interviewer put it, this is information that could change the world. So yeah, maybe getting all the details first would be nice. And remember this guy that I teased at the very beginning of the episode? Well, his name is James Erdman III, and he's a brand new whistleblower. He's a former senior CIA operations officer, and he actually led some investigations into UFOs. And what he had to say is very interesting. Now, some of you are going to be like, oh, we can't trust the CIA. Well, I'm not saying we can, but people in the UFO community have been using part of his testimony to help support disclosure and the movement. And now all of a sudden he's saying things maybe they're not going to like. So I'm curious to see how they're going to twist this now all of a sudden, right? Before he was somebody they were putting up and pointing to. And I bet now, after this statement, they're going to be saying, oh, forget that guy. You can't trust the CIA. But wait a second. I thought he was trustworthy before when he was saying the things you liked him saying. So you decide for yourself.
The one surprising thing that came out of all the investigations, there is a counterintelligence issue that I think has been left unaddressed in a number of the investigations that we have to take a look at.
Did you lead the investigation into UAPs?
I did. And actually, that's the one I'll say I was happiest with the outcome of that. I wish I could talk in more detail about what the findings were. It's up to the principal deputy director, Aaron Lucas, to make sure that information gets out to the public. But here's what I will say about it. Unless someone shows you firsthand evidence of an alien, unless someone shows you firsthand evidence of an item that is being, whatever it is, reverse engineered, or unless people come forward and say, here's the evidence that this is the crash retrieval program, you should maintain a healthy degree of skepticism. There are real national security incidents that have occurred they've been reported by credible people. And I tend to believe fighter pilots and submariners that have a lot on the line to come forward and say things. I tend to believe them. If they're coming forward and saying something, you should believe them. But the problem is, those are national security threats. I think we should define them as national security threats, treat them as that, conduct the investigation, but be very cautious about what is being released publicly about UFOs.
Why cautious?
Because there's a whole crap ton of disinformation out there and lies, and there's grift. We have to be very, very careful.
Do you believe that there are more UAP records that have yet to be released?
Of course, of course. Given, and I'll say, in CIA's defense on this issue, we really didn't ask for a ton from them. There's a couple things we would have liked to have gotten from them, but I can't say that the resistance on that issue really was huge from CIA on that issue. But certainly, given the scope of our investigation, yes, for sure, there's more work that can be done. What I appreciate about what we were tasked to do, we quickly discovered that given the personnel that we had, given the resources, and given what we discovered just as we started the investigation, we had a counterintelligence issue that needed to be clearly defined so that anybody who picks up the baton going forward can focus on the real national security threats that have to be investigated.
Did you come away from the UAP investigation believing that there are communities, civilizations, life forms outside the Earth?
No, not from the investigation. Personally, I want to believe that. I would like to believe that, but no, from the investigation, I did not come away believing that there are UFOs.
All right, betters, we'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.